Hello and Merry
Eh,
Christmas. Recording in August.
Despite us not, yeah. Christmas in August.
Hey, like Card Factory and people, they all start their Christmases in August. That's when like Christmas cards come out. Is when everything. So we're on time for once. So there we go. So Merry
I
Christmas,
guess.
everyone. It is December of 2020. We made it through. Congratulations.
Did we? We
What a
don't know
year.
that
Well, I
yet.
mean, yeah, that's preemptive. But if you're watching this video, you have made it through. And as what we've been doing the past, what is it, 4 years now? We've been doing the
Something like
Christmas
that.
special 11 years after it first aired, not 10, because
Yep.
we don't stick to the rules. We do it 11 years after. So if you want to go
I
back,
mean, just because it just happened to coincide with when we kind of rebooted the channel, was just like
yeah,
that Christmas just happened to be 11 years as opposed to 10.
yeah, gosh darn it. But yeah, so you can go back and watch. We've already done the Christmas Invasion, the Runaway Bride, Voyage of the Damned, and the Next Doctor. So obviously, if you're a big Whovian fan, or you just looked at the thumbnail, you know that this Christmas we're going to be talking. Well, we're going to be reviewing the End of Time Part 1. So we're going to try and stick to just talking about like Part 1, not really try and touch Part 2 until
Yeah.
we talk about Part 2.
Although I'm sure certain things will sneak in.
There'll be, yeah, it always sneaks through. Oh, gosh darn it. Okay, so, man, this took me back watching this episode again to 2009. We just had The Waters of Mars, which was maybe my favorite David Tennant story in like looking back. And like what a story to like the pre-ultimate, like
Yeah.
it was so dramatic and everything. And then you're heading into this one, he's going to be regenerating at the end of it. So it's like, I mean, it had so much to live up to. And Part 1 for sure definitely pays off. I mean, I remember, how old would I have been? Ooh, 11. Man, this was the biggest part of my life at this point. Like, this story was big for me. I mean, I love David Tennant, and I just remember like I had the TV on like an hour before it came on just to make sure I didn't miss 1 second of this episode. And man, it is so epic. Like the scope, the story, just the whole build up. Like doing narration is very different as well. With Roger, no, not Timothy Dalton. That's it. Like I always said Roger Delgado. I don't know why. It's because isn't there enough of James Bond who's like Roger something?
Roger Moore.
That's it. Yeah, I was getting like Bonds and Masters confused there. So yeah, Timothy Dalton is the kind of narrator. Which, funny enough, when I was listening, I remember watching it, I didn't really take much notice or think, who is this mysterious narrator? I just kind of I was so focused on the David Tennant stuff and like taking in the last, I was gonna ever get of the 10th Doctor.
You don't read the first time, really think about all that stuff because you're immediately thinking, well, I mean, at least for me, I remember kind of the first time. I very rarely remember my like first experience of watching a story usually, unless there's a particular reason for it. But I do remember thinking as I was watching for it the first time, like most of my thoughts were going to, well, what sort of state is the Doctor going to be like post Waters on Mars? Because while he admitted, I took it all too far after the time of Victoria's bit, you would have thought, well, he's going to come in, he's probably going to be like shattered or like, something's going to happen. And then you see him come out the TARDIS and he's like, covered in
floral
these,
necklace,
like, over the top accessories and like laughing and joking about with Lou Seaman. It's like, this was not kind of what I was anticipating going down here.
I think that was nice though, because it was it was, subverting expectations that, and what was nice about that was it clearly showed that he like was trying to hide, like while he's pretending to have all this swagger, you could tell that ultimately he's just terrified of dying. Basically, you know, he's scared as all hell. So he's been doing all these, you know, dumb adventures, you know, and then Ood Sigma's like, you should not have, you know, stalled, or can't remember specifically.
Marrying Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
She finally got a bit of payoff on that.
Yeah, that was great actually, having that. I mean that, and then there's also the 50th, which is Elizabeth, isn't it? So it's
and
like,
then
so
finally shows what that part.
But also like Queen Elizabeth is in like the Shakespeare's Code as well at the end.
But yeah, that's why I said that it was a payoff to that. Because like it was. Yeah, that they kind of the weird out of sequence.
It's all backwards, isn't it? It's like enough a River song. Like the final time he sees her, then the second time, and then the first time. But anyway, but yeah, it's the outer sequence. Yeah, it's kind of genius, but obviously it wasn't planned like that. It just kind of happened.
It wasn't planned at all. Like I think after Shakespeare, well, I mean, they thought of something in Shakespeare's Code. I don't know whether or not they actually intended to like have a story with that in David Tennant's era, but like they kind of threw it in at the end, and then Moffat was like, just kind of like, oh, let's do something with this, I guess. Or
which is nice.
Because I think the fans kept bringing it up, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was, you know, it's fantastic. I love the Shakespeare's Code as well. But so I mean, the whole intro's amazing. Like that first 10 minutes, it sets up everything, reintroduces Wilf, and like that church scene, I don't know, always gives me shivers. Like just the choir, and like, you know, just seeing, you know, the TARDIS in like this religious stained glass window, but just tiny in the corner,
and the mysterious woman who. What even is her place anymore after the timeless child?
Yeah, interesting.
Because like Russell T's intention fully was to make that the Doctor's mother.
Yeah, like, pretty much.
Where does she stand now? I guess she's maybe she's that other traveler woman from
maybe she's the one
found the timeless child.
Yeah, that one. I mean, could be perfectly
tortured her for many generations.
Yep. Maybe it was remorse. Or love that eventually came through with the torture, you know, some kind of twisted fucking shit. But who knows? But so the whole setup's lovely, you know. Going back to Ood, and that's the thing I love about this universe, like the Russell T universe, is they always revisited, you know, characters and specific places.
Yeah, there was a strong sense of continuity, and ongoing like arcs and themes and stuff. I think I talked about this a little bit in like some of the other stories, but like when we got into the Moffat era, a lot of that was dropped, and it was like for like a lot of the villains, like with the Daleks, there was a progression. For the Cybermen, there was a progression, which kind of all ended a bit at the Moffat era. Of course, stuff like the Master, of course, only had like, I mean, it was built over time, but that wasn't. I mean, it was only really in like 2 kind of stories as such, I suppose.
Yeah, it's pretty much the Last of the Time Lords one, the series 3 finale, and then this one for the Russell T. But it was built up so well because they I mean, like they had the ring at the end. That's what I love, was that they had the ring in you know, the Last of the Time Lords. So we all knew when the Master was coming back. We all knew that there was this ring. We knew it existed.
Although we didn't know who picked it up. Like a lot of people thought that was Lucy Saxon picking up the ring, which, of course, as this episode shows, it very much wasn't. And of course, one of the slightly awkward things about like the opening of this, they do like which makes sense,
the recap,
given that it's a Christmas strip, but they do like a full-on like narrated recap.
What? Yeah,
and that kind of felt weird. Like I get why they did it, because it was on Christmas, and like there'll be probably a lot of the audience which never saw like the series 3 finale and might be lost if they just jump into this. I get it, but as a fan, that's it's a little odd to actually have that just be a thing.
I'm actually on the opposite end of it. I thought the way that they included it worked well with the story. The Ood were confused. They were seeing all these things. They were showing the Doctor what they were seeing, and they were asking him questions like, who is this person? And it was just easy to show him through, you know, like memories and stuff than I
Not that you
thought the way that they
couldn't- sorry.
incorporated a recap, they did it the best that they could.
Sure. Although, well, all I'd say is that having something. I mean, that whole thing about it being like that was a little bit arbitrary. But like, if they did it in itself, it's fine. Actually, it's the narration more than anything. Like, if they just flashed up a few like brief clips of the episode, then yeah, that makes sense. They've done that before on like other stories where they've had like, you know, kind of flashes of like previous adventures. But it's the fact that he kind of narrated what happened in
I'll give you that. The dialogue was a bit clunky. I will give you that.
Yeah.
It was slightly clunky, but what makes me not really mind either is it's right at the start of the story. Like, you can kind of get away with these things like at the beginning, but you wouldn't want this recap like towards the end, because that would completely destroy pacing. But you know, it's in literally the first 7 minutes, I think. So it's like, fine.
It doesn't ruin anything, and it was just a little bit of an awkward kind of sequence, I suppose.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long at all, though. So not that like it really matters that much.
Yeah.
But it was just something I noticed.
So here's my interesting thing. So the Doctor. Okay, actually, no, let's slightly talk about the seance first, like the whole bringing him back. I think that's a really epic scene. The way that, you know, he returns, just like this whole. It's slightly strange, bit, I don't know, supernatural-esque kind of like coming back, but I just
cultist summoning.
I just love, you know, the way that he comes back is like, you know, never dying. Like, you know, the first thing he says is like, it's just insane already, and then it like he can hear the drums and he's like, oh, I miss them. Like, you know, like
they're louder than ever.
All he wanted was peace. And then actually now it's like, oh no, now he actually wants to hear them. You know, it was the whole scene was very cool, and I just really enjoyed, you know, the bit that then Lucy had also planned, you know, just, you know,
that was yeah.
I kind of like that. I feel like she knew him the most, so she would prepare. I felt like it worked really well, and it was like a nice twist in the scene that, you know, actually one guard who doesn't kneel down and starts letting their soul get sucked was actually, you know, on the side, had infiltrated, and I felt like it just kind of made that scene have a bit more to it rather than just bringing him back to life. And obviously, you know, it makes them, it gave a master these, you know, lightning energy powers, because obviously he didn't resurrect properly.
I mean, it was a weird way of going about it for the master, because like you would have thought with like a failed kind of process of revival, you would have thought what had happened would be like a more weakened master almost, but instead the master's like got all these like superhuman abilities, like a massive jump, like laser hands, and like they briefly like kind of explain it. They just go like, oh, you know, kind of took in like all the energy and such. It's still kind of it's a weird direction to go with it. Like, it wouldn't have been the first thing I'd think about when like, oh, what do we want to do with the master? Laser hands, flying about,
that's what we want,
eating people. It's not quite.
We gave the Daleks, they got their exterminators. We gave Cybermen their little, you know, arm guns. So now the master needs his own kind of, you know, weaponry.
All he's missing was a catchphrase to say while doing it.
Was it dinner time? That's his catchphrase.
I'm hungry.
Which just reminded me of the Idiot's Lantern, actually.
The Wire,
The Wire. Hungry.
A little bit.
They'd get on well. But yeah, so the whole seance, I love that build up. Love, like, you know, the whole, it's shot really nice and the lighting's great.
Yeah.
My interesting thing is, do you think the Doctor is rushing back to stop the seance, or would he want the Master to come back? Because that's my really interesting thing. I was like, is he rushing now to stop? You know, does he still want to be the final Time Lord, or would he want a friend? You know, it's because at the end of the Last of the Time Lords, he's still like, you know.
I mean, given when he got back, which was the morning after, presumably he was probably latter. Like, even if it's not like expressly expressed, like if he really wanted to stop it, like in the time travel machine, he would have gone back to that night.
No, but the Oods say like these things are already in motion, meaning that even if he tries to get back in time for it, he just won't. Like, he just can't. Like, but and I kind of like that. I like that sometimes, like, the Doctor doesn't have full control over time. I kind of like that at points, you know, where he, and that's, you know, in some ways that's why I do like Angels Take Manhattan, for the fact that, you know, he's seen the grave. He knows that he can't go back and save them, though easily he could have gone back, save them, and just put a gravestone there which had, you know, their names on it. Like, it didn't mean that they're actually dead there. But I kind of like that kind of really
stable time loop,
just like, you know, really definitive things in the timeline. Like, this had to happen. Sorry, Doctor, even your time machine could not get to this point in time. Like, it just has to happen. And I like that because it makes the Doctor feel slightly more just a traveler through time rather than this, you know, Time Lord, as they call themselves. Like, not complete control, because it, exactly as you say, like, he could easily, you know, just do anything and everything because it wouldn't matter. Like,
I mean, that was the whole thing about Time Lord Victorious.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he felt like he could do anything, but actually he can't. Like, and that's what I really like about that. It makes the Doctor not this god superpower, which is the whole thing I love about, you know, the Doctor. The only power I like, you know, the Doctor having is that, you know, he can regenerate. Well, the Doctor can regenerate, and that's, you know, and they're just very clever. That's it. That's all I like. I don't want them to, you know, have these amazing abilities. You know, I just want them to be a normal average Joe, apart from just that's their alien species, but that's normal for the rest of, you know, that's why obviously I have my qualms with the Timeless Child. But I just prefer that kind of really, I'm not a god, I'm just another, you know, Time Lord, average. Nothing special about you, which is what makes you special. And so in some ways, I'm just interested because I love that they don't explain that. Was the Doctor going back to stop it, or was he actually just going to go there to actually make sure that, you know, he could at least capture the Master once he was back? You know, contain him. The weird part. Okay, so there's some interesting trivia. This is the first time that an actual politician has been, like, fully named in Doctor Who history with Barack
like,
Obama.
we were talking about this. Like, I completely forgot that they had Obama in this because, like, I remember in Arachnids, I complained about them bringing up Trump because, of course, they had, like, this fictional, like, American politician and such. But yeah, like I said, I completely forgot that Obama existed in this universe. So I guess that was set in motion earlier.
It was strange, wasn't it? I mean, I didn't mind. See, it was such a little thing, I guess. I don't know. It was interesting. It's interesting that they, you know, that is actually the first time. Because everyone did think, oh, the Trump was the first one. I know I did, because I kind of just completely forgot. I think it's because it was still pretty on the nose, like the Trump thing. I just think Bradley Walsh's character kind of came out of nowhere, where, like, you know, politicians make speeches on, like, Christmas and stuff, you know, the Queen does, and, you know, it feels more organic the way that they bring Obama slightly into the story.
I suppose, but yeah, once again, it didn't have to be like
Obama. It could have been any president. Yeah,
it could have been generic, you know, like
generic.
Like I said, they had Winters before, and of course, like the UK, they had Harriet Jones. They you know, it's like, it's weird to then, like, having already established these kind of, that this universe had its own set of different politicians completely removed from our own, to then turn around and start going, nope, that was like our present day. You know, we have Obama, we have Trump, you know.
Something happened. After Time Lord Victorious, the Doctor were in the timelines. Real politics came to Doctor Who. Well, obviously the show's always been political, but, you know. But yeah, that's something, I guess. So isn't it the president? The Naismiths. Weird, random.
Prime Minister.
I find them very odd. Like,
yeah, the motivations for them are
weird,
weak, and a bit weird. My daughter wants to live forever.
Like, that's awful.
That's
she has not thought this through.
There's no depth to that. That's
she is an idiot.
Okay. Why?
Yeah. It's so that's it. That's like all you get, and it's just like, yeah, these guys are rich. They've got their own army. There you go. That's it.
Okay.
And
It's like,
that's kind of all you get for them. I liked how
yeah.
they were kind of tied into the story, with the book, and that's how finally the Doctor actually could at least trace that person because he found out who it was through the book, which Donna gave to Wilf, which
having a
was
bit of Donna's subconscious
yeah.
aspect.
It was really nice having Donna in this story actually, even though she's like not in it much overall because obviously the kind of meta crisis thing, but it's nice seeing her.
They did it in a really smart way. They didn't kind of reverse course and kind of undo what happened before, but they found like interesting ways to kind of integrate her a little bit into the story, even if she isn't the focus of it. So, yeah,
it's really
sweet.
It
was handled very well in this.
Yeah, but can we just big up Bernard Cribbins as Wilfred Mott? That guy he makes this story.
Oh, absolutely!
It's so amazing. He's so great, and just his whole, I don't know, just the way he plays it and acts it is just incredible. And I'm so glad that even though ultimately he's the one who breaks all our hearts, which that's what makes it so good. But he is he's just so awesome, and it is great. It's because the way that it's all tied in that that they keep bumping into each other, like he manages to find the Doctor in an afternoon with a bunch of old people, like just
it's just interesting how it ended up like that in the end, because of course he wasn't really planned for that to kind of happen like this, I guess.
Yeah, but it just works so perfectly, from Voyage of the Damned all the way to End of Time. Just like absolutely. That's what's missing nowadays, like that kind of crazy mind fuckery, that you're just like, oh my god, like the Doctor came face to face with his own, like, basically executioner, like in 07, and
it's true,
and then a whole 2 years later, it's just so
again, it's weird how that worked out, because if things had been slightly different, that wouldn't have gone down at all.
Yeah, because they had the original guy who played Donna's father in those early shoots of Partners in Crime, but they had to change it, didn't they?
Yeah, had to record it after his passing.
Ill, and then he was too ill, and then he passed away not long after. But I mean, Bernard Cribbins, what a catch! Just from a cameo appearance to becoming this big thing, just so awesome.
I mean, that whole family is just like, I think probably easily my favorite as to like the whole family dynamics in the whole series, I think.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like the Donna Noble clan. I mean, I even love what's her name? What is Sylvia? Yeah. I mean, she's great in this episode. I love the bit where she comes outside, she sees the Doctor, she's like, "What are you doing here? Like, get away!" And then he's like, "Merry Christmas."
I have to say, like, just as a slight aside, but like Jacqueline King is like, I think right up there alongside Katie Mannings as one of the very sweetest people I think I've ever met in conventions. She was so nice. Like, she was really, really friendly. So
I just love her in this story, even though she is like those minimal bits. Like like, I think she doesn't get enough
shouting at her.
It's just like, yeah. I just love the way that she's like, she knows she has to lie. So she's it's had to, like, I just love a bit where she says like, "Merry Christmas" back to the Doctor, and it's like, you can't be here, because like Merry Christmas, you can't be here. Like, it's fantastic. I just, I think she's definitely underrated. Like, she doesn't get enough. She doesn't get enough respect. Like, she is actually fantastic.
Throughout like whole of series 4 when she appeared, and this, like, absolutely.
She's fantastic.
I think we talked about this during Turn Left, but like just her face in Turn Left, that one
when
face.
She gives up.
Yeah,
man, that, like, I can see that in my head, like that shot and that face, and that's when like that is some solid acting if it still impacts you like all this time later. It's over 10 years later. I mean, I know I've watched it multiple times, but like I could feel like her just complete like depression and the fact that she's just given up, the emptiness It's absolutely. And even though she's a small nugget in this like two-parter, big up Sylvia. Jacqueline, I think, isn't it her name?
Jacqueline King, yeah.
Jacqueline King, yeah. Big up her. Awesome actress.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it comes together really nicely. I just love the bit, where the Master's he's killed those two guys. I kind of you kind of feel sorry for them, those two homeless people. He eats them. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny and it's kind of terrifying at the same time.
Yeah,
like because it's and that's what I really like about the scene. You're not quite sure how to feel about it because it's like he lands behind them and it's like, oh, and the guy finally talks and he's like, oh, you look like the old prime minister, the one that went mad. And it's like, the perfect disguise. Like, he can smell me. It's like, John Sim, man, just, I wish we kind of got more of him as the Master.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
He's just so awesome on screen. Like, he is. I know a lot of people actually I've read didn't like that he was so
because it was quite a kind of departure from the previously quite reserved, suave Masters of the past. I guess it's just kind of your perspective on what you see the Master being.
That's true.
I do kind of prefer that old style of Master in some ways. Like, I still think, for me, Roger Delgado probably is still the best Master, really.
Yeah.
But I think John Sim is exceptional, and like this new take on the Master, like in the way they established it, absolutely works great for me. So
I think opposite David Tennant as well. It's just it's so good. And yeah, I love the scene, afterwards, and they're just sitting, like he's just sitting there, and he just smells the air, like they can smell each other. They just know, like when the Doctor sees him, he'll know. Yes. And I kind of love that kind of mythology, that when the Doctor kind of sees the Master, or as soon as he kind of knows who it is, you can like lock on, like you just know. And I love that whole scene, where the Master just gets that bit of metal and just bangs the oil drum 4 times. Because obviously, like us as the audience, we're like, it's the 4 knocks. Like, like freaking out. I know as like a kid I was like, nah, because the amazing thing about the knock 4 times is it perfectly, intertwines with, the whole Masters, the drumming, which is, just the way it all came together. I just can't credit this story enough, and Russell T Davies enough for how amazingly he brought everything together.
Yeah,
and that whole
he really did bring that grandeur to everything. I mean, that's kind of what I miss in a lot of in kind of more modern Doctor Who, is that it doesn't feel as grand, I guess, just in terms of like all these big events. In a lot of ways, completely
agree. I think, and something again, which I've voiced, is like it's very music led. This whole, especially the end of time, even part 1 and part 2. If you listen and you pay attention, like it's all musically constructed. Like every emotion you should be feeling is completely pushed through the music, which I think is always a complete strength, because it stops dialogue vomit telling you how to feel, which I think slightly is what Chibnall struggles with. And I know that some people at the moment, I just do not vibe with the new kind of style of very subtle music. I really like grandiose. It works so much better. It's more impactful. More impactful.
Yes, absolutely. I very much agree.
And that whole chase, imagine that like without the music of that whole chase through like that kind of, I mean, it's kind of like enough a gravel yard. It's kind of throwback Doctor Who, isn't it, to just some gravel pit.
Kind of, yeah.
But that whole chase scene would be awful with no music. Like it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be, but it's like that whole like drumming, and like they come to face with each other. The Master just screams at the Doctor, and and then like obviously Wilf finds each other, and then we get that really the camera scene's quite
actually
funny.
I wanted to quickly I guess well, we're not really talking in order anyway, but like before we get too far ahead, I guess like the scene in the cafe.
That's what I was about to head
Yeah,
there.
oh, you were gonna go to that? Oh, yes.
That's what we were gonna do. That was it.
Yay!
We're at the cafe
Nice.
scene. Now this is the notorious scene. This one here, because this is where kind of they set up poor Matt Smith to kind of be hated.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, yes, it's weird because like they never really touch on that so much, like how much of I mean, of course, we see a different personality every time the Doctor regenerates and such, but they never really discuss it. It's like they never go like it's like being a different person, or it's like they never really. Yeah, like in the classic series, especially, they never truly touched on it. So the fact that you have David Tennant, like
it feels like dying.
Yeah,
enough a man goes sword to me off, and I'm dead. Like Jesus,
Jeez.
It's like everyone's already heartbroken that you're leaving, David Tennant. Don't like it. Like seriously, that scene definitely for poor Matt Smith set such a bar because everyone's hearts were just breaking. It's like, so David Tennant isn't even going to be in the new Doctor. Like it really feels like,
yeah.
Is it a mistread? I don't know. In hindsight, in like now that Matt Smith's era has passed and he had a perfectly good era and has loads of fans who call him the best Doctor. I think it shows that clearly it didn't damage it too much. But definitely at the time, I was like, it made me even more heartbroken. That Doctor was going to be dying in the next episode, like because we know
part
it's
two certainly didn't help with that whole.
Oh yeah, man. Whew. But yeah, this whole cafe scene, maybe my favorite scene of the episode. I think there's
like
just
possibly.
It's just dialogue, but it's such good dialogue. Like it's it sets up the thing of the mystery of Wilf. I like that the Doctor addresses it. It's like you found me in an after. People have waited hundreds of years to meet me, and you managed it in an afternoon. Like unbelievable. Like it is. It's ridiculous, isn't it? He goes anywhere in time and space, and Wilf.
And he's clearly like distressed throughout it, and kind of not even like speaking how he would usually speak. Like he's outright goes like Wilf isn't special. It's just his face there.
Yeah, he goes completely like depressed in the scene. It's is like, I like that they just kind of recover the Donna. It's like I'll just go over, just run over, do something. Like she misses you. She looks. She gets this look on her. Just like every single beat of that scene is just perfect, and the Doctor's like, just drops it, I'm gonna die. Wilf's like, well, so am I someday. It's like, don't you dare. It's all right, I'll try not to. Just that perfect witty comeback dialogue is just so precious. Just absolutely like that scene. Like when I think of End of Time Part 1, that is the scene. And then the very final moment. But we'll get to that at the end. I feel like that's a good one to finish this review on.
Yes.
But yeah, and then the Doctor goes off, and then you get that dialogue. You get the narrator returns actually at the end of that scene. It's like it's kind of like the king is in his counting house, like that kind of rhyme thing. The king is in his counting house, counting up his coins. Some is else. It's very much like set up like that. Is like the master in his kingdom of dirt or something. The master's just eating some ominous bone, which I kind of love that. Like it's not explained if that was a person or what. Then the Doctor's kind of already pretty much tracked him down. And yeah, just like how everything, and then you get the shot of the narrator. And I remember as a kid, I just completely ignored it. I did not go, oh, who's
really?
this? Yeah, as a kid, I just don't. I don't know. I was kind of like, okay, so there's a guy, but just in my head, I never connected it to what it was revealed.
I got the robes. I got it.
I don't know. I think I was just so concentrated on David Tennant, like that, the master and the Doctor, like what's going to happen? What is going on? And all of that connecting up. And yeah, I think I think, yeah, I just didn't straight away think, ooh, that, because it's not super Gallifreyan. It's got the color
It
scheme
is
slightly.
kind of.
It's not like
It's
all
like the red and the gold. It's
yeah,
just
it's
what
got
I
that.
think of. Like there isn't too many other things in Doctor Who that,
I think,
especially not for humanoid characters that just have like red, gold.
honestly,
That would be like any sort of impact.
I think it was Timothy Dalton's beautiful eyes. I was captivated in, to be perfectly honest. I mean, I was still watching. I think this would have still been on our 4x3 TV, so maybe it was even cropped.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Possibly,
maybe it was even cropped so that I didn't really see that. I mean, I missed like 2/3 of Doctor Who for quite a while. But it's kind of 4x3. It was like slightly bigger, but we definitely didn't get the whole framage.
Yeah, I think only I would have only watched series 1 and actually probably only series 1 in 4x3. I think we got like a wider TV after that.
My
Maybe a
parents
little
were
bit
slow.
later.
My parents were very slow. But yeah. But yeah,
I mean, to be fair, we didn't replace our VHS till 2003, so we were quite late on things too.
Oh man, we were VHSs until way later than that. We must have been like,
really?
Yeah, I think we must have been like 04, 05 before we even got DVDs. Like, yeah, for some reason I think my dad was very stubborn. Like my dad, like when he splashes out big, but like really stubborn to catch up. I don't know. But hey ho, it's kind of funny. I mean, it gives me a lot of nostalgia thinking back, like to my big, like it's in this cupboard actually, the big TV, like, you know, it's got a big button, and it had this little click as it turned on as the electron gun in the back starts firing up. Classic. But so it sets up the scene, and then we get this really powerful scene, which is what they revealed at like Comic-Con or something, because they revealed like the Master returning at Comic-Con way earlier, like before Waters of Mars aired. Because I remember watching, like, you can see it online still, but like the promo, like they released a title for like the end of time or anything, like before even Waters of Mars had aired. So I knew that Master was coming back for this is before I really got into spoilers online. So this, like, finding a YouTube video of a Comic-Con trailer was big stuff for me.
I mean, they didn't not so much leaked around this one in particular. I do, because like as far as I remember, like I had no idea about the Time Lords or anything.
Yeah.
But there was I mean, a lot of speculation. Certainly.
Yeah. I mean, that always is.
Remember how much of it ended up actually being right. So
it's funny, like when you see like people's predictions and stuff, and like usually they're just so far off. But yeah, so it sets up the scene really nice, and they have a little showdown with the blasty blasties. Yeah, I've always find it a bit funny when the Master's like just rubbing his head.
Like in the first 2 shots, he just like missed.
I think he's missing on. Completely. I think he's doing it on purpose just to kind of frighten the Doctor, and that's why when he then just gets him straight away, he like does it so rapidly. But I'm just thinking about John Sim on set. He's just doing this like, you know, it wouldn't look cool on set.
Like, nothing he does like is like this form of the Master is like the way he eats and
like the way at least he has like something to like eat, but like just like when you've got like nothing down, you're just like, way, look at my hands. Woo. Yeah, like I mean, doing like that's okay because you can kind of imagine the beam, but like doing this just wouldn't look so. It's like washing your hands, you know, sing happy birthday, wash your hands, guys, COVID-19. But yeah, and that whole scene, and then like the when they're finally in the Doctor, you know, finally learns that the drumming's real. Like the moment where the Master finds out that the drum beat is real, it's like that's really powerful. That moment, something about it, I just love. He says it 3 different ways. Like first is like realization, the second's like joy, and then the last time's like absolute anger, like because and then he just zooms into the sky.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. Iron Man-y. Is that the CG there
looks weird as fuck, doesn't it?
It really does.
It doesn't make sense. Like he kind of starts close and then kind of weirdly goes off. It's like it's so Iron Man though. Like his whole hands and everything, and it's just like woo. This is the Mark 1 Iron Man.
Again, not quite what you think the Master would do.
Yeah, I mean, if he had the energy and he could do it, I guess.
It's just. I mean, it kind of makes sense for what they established, but it's still like a very weird direction to take the Master in.
Yeah.
It's just the point I was making. It's just like this isn't what you think of when you think of the Master. Like you think back to like how the Master. I mean, again, that is kind of what I think a lot of old fans think about. Like this story in particular is like you think of the Master like in a certain way, and now he's like flying about, eating people, and like maniacally, like it's weird.
In some ways, I like it though, because it's a unique story. It's a unique beat for the Master. Like I think we've gone back now with like Sacha Dhawan as the Master.
Yeah,
like he's back to that style.
Like they never established entirely why. Because where now the drum beats stopped and whatnot, and after of course Missy, you still don't firmly know where like timeline things take place. Although
for sure, but what I
think one of the big finishes seems to imply that he is after Missy, but I don't know.
I mean, I just like the fact that the fans who like the traditional Master finally kind of got him. We've got this more suave. He does have those slight bits of insanity, but overall, he is more Delgado.
Kind of. No, actually, I'd say he's closer to this than he is to Delgado.
I'd say. He has
the shrink gun. I can't
remember
the matic impression.
That's it.
But actually, in the way he acts, it's far more like this particular version of the Master, like at the end of time, just without like all the weird powers, is kind of, I think, best described as his Master.
Yeah, fair enough. I think he's a bit more withheld. I think he's like in between those two, maybe a bit more anally. But then they kind of get kidnapped in a kind of Deus Machina to the scene, but I mean it kind of works in some ways.
You would have thought that the Master would be able to avoid that, but
well, they do drug him, but I think he kind of wanted to go with them. I think
he come down.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like the something is coming, and I love that the Master thinks that he is the something. Like that's always a nice setup. Like he didn't listen properly. He's like, I've returned. I'm something. And it's like, no, something, not someone. And I think the Master's thinking, well, if this is real, maybe this is like these are the people who put the drum beat in my head. So in some ways, I think he wants to go with them. In some ways, because he could escape anything. I mean, he's got these powers. Like no humans can actually really contain him. So it doesn't matter where he goes. He always gets away. And then that's how the Doctor then goes back to Wilf, and there's the book, and then they go, and then we kind of get into the final act, really. At the Naismith Manor, I think it is, isn't it? And we see the kind of the device that kills our poor 10th Doctor.
Yeah.
Quite
unsuspecting. I mean, they do bring it up, but like you don't
really acknowledge it, do you?
Consider the actual importance of it. It's just like a device to
power the arc thing. Yeah, the gate.
Yeah.
Oh man, so smartly put. Though there is one mistake in the episode. One shot, they randomly mirrored the shot, so the glass cases are on like the left side, but then throughout the rest of the story, they're on the right side. But it's like the smallest detail. It's when I think they're showing like through the gate or something. Like there's a shot through the gate, just a wide shot of the room. There's one point where it's like it's on the wrong side, the thing, because it's like they flipped the image for some reason. I don't know. Hey ho. But I like that the Doctor hides the TARDIS. That was smart after what happened last time.
And you would have thought that he'd use that more often.
Yeah, I guess like most times
that could have helped in an awful lot of situations.
I mean, the only issue I think is like mainly it's just because the Master's about like, and the Master knows how to use a TARDIS. Any other being wouldn't have really much of a clue going inside or could do any damage quickly. The Master knows exactly what he's doing in a TARDIS.
I mean, sure, but like there would have been situations in the past where having something like that would have been quite useful.
That's true. That is true.
But it only really appears in this story. And I mean, I guess that's kind of what happens in the Ghost Monument, but
well, no, their TARDIS just dematerializes and then rematerializes.
It's kind of but it is kind of out of sync with time. That is kind of what happens, though, isn't it?
Kind of, except for Ghost Monument, it was like years. Like there wouldn't be a chance of them if they miss it. Basically, it was like you don't get a chance because it's like every 12 years. It was like, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. Man.
But yeah, other than that, there's no real like instance of this kind of thing happening, which is strange because again, there were situations where this would have been quite useful.
For sure. So then we kind of get the kind of big thing. So the Vinvoci, the kind of little alien race that we get in this story. So originally, actually, they were supposed to have pink faces, and but they decided later on after that they were actually they kind of wanted them to all be completely green. So they actually had to digitally every single frame color them in green. So so because it was like from the face, so they only had to do like the face and I think the neck. So yeah, they had to do that like frame by frame. So that's why in some scenes, if you carefully look, like at one point when like the Master's talking to Earth, when the White Point Star or something, like they're in the shadows, and apparently you can kind of see like they've got their kind of pink faces, but it's just kind of hard to see. So yeah, when you watch part 2, keep an eye out for that.
But yeah, they were an interesting addition to the story. I'm not
kind of out of nowhere. It makes sense though. That, you know, there's this alien, and they're waiting for them to fix it to then take it back to their own planet.
Yeah,
I kind of like that. You know, they're just salvagers. They're not super important. I think they got good actors.
I mean, realistically, they could have, like, if you wanted to shorten this, like, you could have cut them out the story, and it wouldn't have really affected anything.
Well, you need the spaceship for them to escape to.
I mean, yes, but you could have figured something out for that.
I don't know. I think you need them because then where else would the Doctor have gone? They need that spaceship, so then you can have the big action piece with the missiles. And then the cool jumping from way too high.
True.
Yeah, so I really like them. I think they got, you know, the perfect kind of duo to play them. Played
they're
really
entertaining,
yeah, they're really good. And I like the little surprise. Like they set them up as kind of sinister at the start. Like the first time you see them, they kind of do this weird eye contact, which I kind of like a lot. I love the Doctor just sees through their shimmer straight away. Like, I love when the Doctor's just slightly more, you know, smarter in like some moments like that. Like sometimes, you know, sometimes you wouldn't clock something like that, but like then some technology clocks like completely, and it's like, you know, if I was wearing a shimmer, I wouldn't someone to know I was like being a shimmer. Like, what's a shimmer? Shimmer. Great moment. And then the Master's plan is amazing. Like, just the whole thing, jumping in the gate and just taking over everyone. Like that whole scene is just mind blowing. As like a fan, you're like, holy crap! Like the Master, like he's literally got rid of basically the whole human race. The sequence,
pretty much,
I find the head shaking a bit slightly odd. I don't know, strange choice.
Yeah, although I guess it'd be I don't know how else you would depict that though. I guess I don't quite know what the implication is. Are they actually like? Is their faces actually morphing into that because of the head shake? Are they actually like completely like?
Because to me, if you're genetically changing everyone, it would be more like I don't know, like a morph thing rather than like a rapid shake. I guess it was just easier effects if you just did this crazy shake, like, you know.
Yeah, they wouldn't really go for the morphing stuff to like the Zygons.
Yeah.
Such.
But just that whole sequence where they're all changing, and, you know, then is like everyone around the world, you know, Obama is like, you know, on the news.
Yeah.
I think it's like everyone's meal or something it's changed to. Just it's just crazy. And like that scene where they had everyone. So apparently they made a load of like Johnson masks. So for like the up close ones where it's like, you know, it's just him in shot and he's waving to each other. Like obviously he did all of those, but then like for the wider shots, because there was one which always I was like, how the hell did they do that? Well, you know, it's like the guy on the ground who was like, "Oh, there's someone in my head," and then he's like then it's obviously John Sim later. A guy like throws his cap, and then someone else picks it up and puts it on and starts dancing. I was just like, how did they do that? Like, that's crazy. Because like I used to think that maybe they mapped it, like, you know, and then like, but then they would have had to land in the same place, and like, I don't know. Like, to me, it was just like. But yeah, it was just a guy in a mask. Lots of John Sim masks. I think I read in a magazine that actually he kept one of those masks. And it's like in his wardrobe, and I think it scares his wife or something. It's because it's like so creepy because it's kind of quite realistic. There's like his own decapitated face in, you know, just his wardrobe. But yeah, I mean that whole sequence is just awesome, and you think like, wow, what a cliffhanger! How's the Doctor going to get out? And this one, you know. And I mean, what's great is he puts Wilf in this cabinet, and then how does Wilf get out of it? Because someone gets out of it, doesn't he? Because he's got to get out because they go to the spaceship. They manage to get away. I guess a master.
He does get out.
I guess enough a master goes in then and takes it over at one point. Yeah, it's got to be that.
Time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what happens. They get him out at some point because I mean it jumps, doesn't it? It jumps to the Doctor being tied up, in the chair thing. So yeah. Oh no, I think maybe he escapes. I don't know. I can't remember.
We'll have to.
I can't remember. I'm excited for part 2. But yeah, so you think think the finale that's a cliffhanger already. Like all the Masters laughing on Earth, and like the music's heading up just to like be end for the end beat, but then it shows the big like shot of Earth, and then the narration starts, and it's like it's not just the Master didn't realize his place in bigger plans, and it zooms out, and the freaking Time Lords. I lost my shit as a kid, like especially when you've been watching since 2005. Like that was like my that's all I seen Doctor Who as. Like that was the big thing. Like Time Lords, the Time War. Like he is the last one. So this was like fucking the biggest moment of my life. Like crazy, so crazy when I saw them. You see all of them. It's like and that speech and like the spit that's coming out, and he just looks epic. And my God, just maybe my favorite cliffhanger, like definitely the one that's impacted me the most out of any cliffhanger. That has been the one where I've been like, I can't even wait. Like I physically could not wait for the next episode because I knew how much of a big thing this was. I mean, I just remember being like slamming my hands on like the sofa arm and being like just shouting, "What?" Like I just did not see it coming. I was completely caught off guard, and that's when I knew like the next episode was going to be the biggest shit of my life.
Like I said, I caught it earlier, but like I didn't know to what extent. Like, okay, there is one, but like we've already had one come back, so I mean that could be anything. But like then we see all these other Time Lords. It's like, oh my goodness.
The music is crazy as well. Like,
and then like
it's like the whole choir singing, like da 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 da. Just oh man, that shit got me. Like honestly, just everything.
I mean, and we'll talk more about the actual depiction of the Time Lords next time.
Everything in part 1 is I really struggle to find a fault with part 1.
I mean, like I said, I have pointed out a few.
There's a couple,
mostly minor. But
to me, just the pacing, the grandiose, the music, the acting, like the important moments, which, those, you got to think how many episodes of Doctor Who there are. Like, there's multiple moments in just part 1 which stick with me. The cafe scene and the final scene there where where the Time Lord's revealed. Like those have stuck with me over all these years, through all the new episodes of Doctor Who, and like even the episodes that came before it. Like those are 2 key moments which just stick out to me. Like when I put this episode on, I was like, damn, I miss this era of Doctor Who. Like I just miss this feeling of just not being able to take my eyes away. Just the grandiose, so good.
Agreed.
Do you remember like watching this episode, like that, especially that like final shot, like where they're just
like, I remember certain feelings. I remember like to an extent, although I think I did mention this before, but like I do somewhat struggle to remember sometimes like my first experience with a lot of these things. I actually I remember more like the beginning of the next part than I do the end of this one in particular. To be honest, like the Gallifreyan ruins actually like was.
Oh yeah, that was amazing to see.
But yeah, like I said, I think like because of course I remember I did catch like my initial shock came like earlier on, so I guess the ending wasn't quite. I mean, like no, I was hyped and like I was like it wasn't. I guess because as I said, like the shock came earlier, so like when it came to the end, it's like heck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's
more than like actual.
Yeah, I don't think I felt the hype I have since like for a Doctor Who cliffhanger. I don't think I've ever felt that. Let's fucking go. Let's like I didn't want David Tennant to leave. You know, I was heartbroken, but this made me want the next episode so bad. Like I didn't want it, but because this cliffhanger was so epic, it made me want it.
Yeah.
Like as a thing, like what was so amazing about it, because it was all the years build up to this moment. That's what made this cliffhanger so amazing. If this had been like maybe series 2, it would have been big, but you know, this was like 4 whole series worth, 5 years worth of build up for this moment, like his entire freaking planet returning. Like I just don't think, unless, you know, a new showrunner came in and planned that early on, like, you know, they knew exactly what they wanted to do for like a 6-year run, would you be able to pull off anything as epic as what Russell T managed to pull off? I don't think it could be done unless you got like enough Russell T or like a Kevin Feige kind of character who knows exactly what they want to build to. I just like, that's why I don't think I've ever felt the hype I have for the next episode of Doctor Who.
I mean, I think there were certain moments when Moffat proved he could do it. I mean, to be fair, like the whole like Dare the Doctor was kind of a follow-on from this, I guess, in a way.
True. I mean, I was hyped for Dare the Doctor, but like the issue was like there wasn't like a there was like the War Doctor, and I was intrigued and interested, yes. But obviously like Series 7 had left us a bit kind of, especially part like Series 7 as a whole was a bit of a mystery.
Bit of a mixed bag, yeah.
And I mean, I was happy, you know, that Ice Warrior's returning, but apart from, I really love Cold War actually. I don't think that gets enough love. But I mean, it's enough of Dalek, but no. It's still a nice Under Siege one, and the side character's cool. But it's like Ice War right now. But yeah, I really like, I don't know, just everything was right about Doctor Who. You got to think about all the episodes that we just got before it. Like all of Series 4 is pretty much a knockout the park, pretty much. You know, there's just some like as bad as Series 4 gets is like, that's a good episode. Like, you know, the ones that stand out less, like the Doctor's Daughter, but like it's still a good episode. It's still a good episode, you know. But like you got to think, like we had like Midnight, Turn Left, the Dalek finale, you know, which I know that Journey's End had to wrap up quite a lot in a short amount of time, which obviously was its kind of downfall, but it's still a good episode. Then you had the Next Doctor, which I personally enjoy. I know a lot of people give it hate, but I really like that story. Planet of the Dead is perfectly fine, but you know, it's still a good episode, and it introduced the 4 Nox thing, you know. It had that, and Waters of Mars is 10 out of 10 anyway. Like we'll never give it lower than 10. And then these, you know, then this amazing episode, like Doctor Who was just knocking them out of the park. Every single episode was a banger. Like, at least, like I never came out of like a Series 4 episode or any of the specials disappointed.
And
like that is just impressive, and definitely isn't talked about enough. Like, it was just the top of its game all the way to the end. And that's why, in some ways, I'm glad Russell T left when he did, because man, you could not leave stronger than Russell T. I don't think, you know, anyone will be able to manage that again. To be perfectly honest,
No.
I think just absolute genius.
I mean, actually, to be fair, if Moffat had ended at the Doctor falls, then maybe
that would have been a strong finish. Yeah, series 10 would have been strong, but the issue is obviously series 9 and 8. Well, like the thing is like just series 3 is predominantly mainly like all of Russell T's scripts are fantastic in that one. I mean, there's a couple of okay ones. 42 is like all right, and Lazarus Experiments actually okay, but like
I mean,
it
of course,
held
there are
back by
a
its
few
CG.
weak episodes,
But yeah, like, but it was just strong, so strong. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Just thinking back, how amazing like that period of Doctor Who, being a Doctor Who fan was.
Even at its worst, it was constantly entertaining. I think it's the important thing. Like, even the weakest episode, like, if you kind of switch your brain off a bit, you can still have fun with them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Really, what would be the weakest episode
of that whole era? I mean,
a
lot of people would say stuff like Fear Her or
okay. Series 2 was a bit.
Monsters.
Series 2 had a bit of a unsure like second series. It had some not quite sure what we're doing yet, but then kind of come around to series 3. I mean, Lazarus Experiment 42 are kind of the ones where I'd go. And I don't actually on rewatch. I didn't mind the Dalek 2-parter as I didn't hate it. I didn't. Actually, I thought it was.
It was a weird one. That's
slightly different, isn't it?
Weird one. I don't hate it, but it's weird. I don't quite know how I feel about it even now. It's like
So my one thing about the end of time. My one thing about it was there didn't need to be a next time trailer. Like literally.
Because it was very long.
Did not need it. I mean, like it was Christmas Day. I mean, you could have done maybe something really short, but I watched the trailer and I was like, you didn't need to show this much. Like they showed quite a lot, I guess.
I mean, that's always been the thing about the BBC marketing, hasn't it?
And yeah, I just feel like it was like end game kind of levels. Like you could show some stuff. You could literally just show probably 7 shots of the characters' faces. Close ups. That's all you need to show. The Doctor looking worried, Wilfred Mott looking worried, the Master looking manic, the Time Lords looking powerful, the Vin Voce being like, oh my god, and that's all. And Donna like looking scared in the street. That's all you need to show. Like that would have sold everyone already. Like with that cliffhanger, I felt like that's my one qualm with it. Like pretty much just the next time trailer just didn't need to be as extensive as it was.
I guess the only other thing I can think of, because there was a very minor controversy because of the whole like Minnie groping the Doctor's butt thing.
Yeah,
I mean, that is very uncomfortable.
It is a slightly
it shouldn't.
That's
especially in retrospect. It's like
in retrospect. See, that's the issue. Like at the time, like
just that stuff was more.
It's more like comedy looks. That's what's really difficult about these things. It's because like in some ways it can be funny because it's a weird old lady who's a bit of a troublemaker. But then it's also you look at the implications. And it's like it really depends on
other ways to show that. Other than
exactly like a butt groping.
It was probably funny at the time, but like now
I remember finding it like entertaining. But then you look back in hindsight and you're like, well, actually, like it's a very strange thing, isn't it? Looking back, and it's like, but I wouldn't say remove it completely. Or get rid of it. Like it's just.
Well, no, I don't mean to like change the episode in retrospect or anything, but like, had it been done today, that would not.
Oh yeah, that would be so bad. I mean, especially with Jodie as a Doctor.
Oh, good.
That'd be even worse.
Yeah.
God. No.
Well.
I mean,
I wouldn't say
it's
even
as
worse,
bad. It's as bad, but like, I there would definitely be, I think, more complaints if
more of an outcry.
I think for sure. Don't grow people's butts without consent, guys. It's a no go. But that's a good note to end this review on.
I guess so.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really don't have any issues with this episode as a whole. I think, I could just gush about, especially part one.
Like I have some flaws with it, but it's solid. Like it does a great job of kind of being that kind of. Well, I mean, I guess you said Wilson Mars are kind of penultimate. This is kind of sort of penultimate.
It's all part of one story.
But like as a build up to the finale,
yeah,
absolutely. This hits all the right notes and feels grandiose in a way, that feels appropriate as an end of an era of the show.
It was fantastic. I know that apparently part one originally had a different name, which, funny enough, Russell T had like teased that in like the Doctor Who magazine, that it was going to be something else. Like he said it was going to be like, it was 7 letters or something, but he changed it to just be End of Time Part 1. I think it was like the final day of Planet Earth or something he originally called it. Yeah, okay, yeah. So originally the Part 1 title was The Final Days of Planet Earth. And yeah, in Doctor Who magazine he said it was 6 words long, the title. However, later on he said it just didn't look right on screen when he saw it on screen. So then they changed it to Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
Which is
it would feel kind of weird saying them back and forth, like the 5 days of Planet Earth, the end of time.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it just works better, and it's a very. It doesn't feel like a tale of two halves, really. It's pretty much continuous. I feel, you can watch these back to back, and it doesn't feel like there's, like when you look at.
Well, I mean that's been the case for all the 2-parters, pretty much. Like,
I don't know, when you look at like Bad Wolf,
Stolen Earth, Journey's End wasn't called Journey's End Part 1 and Journey's End Part 2.
Yeah, but I guess they're just very different, like, standpoint chapters, I guess. In some ways, like, you look at like Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone, they're like in completely different locations. Like Time of Angels is like in the caves, Flesh and Stone is like in the forest. Like, it feels like they're very like separate parts, while this all happens pretty much in the same locations. I don't know. I just feel like, it works better as making this, the Doctor's final story, the 10th Doctor,
I mean, I wouldn't have minded a different title for both parts, but yeah, I would agree that the final days of Planet Earth probably wasn't it.
I think, yeah. I think it fits both episodes perfectly, I couldn't really think of a better one. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I think any other interesting kind of tidbits that I've learnt were better for kind of part 2, really. But yeah, that's it. So I don't know. Definitely for me, I'd give it like for its job as a part 1 and like all its very like standout scenes. I have to kind of give this one a 10. I can't I can't fault just part 1 though. That's the thing. As the story as a whole, like, then it might knock it down depending on how I feel after part 2. But at the moment, I can't really, it's got the grandiose, it's got the big setup, it's got that cliffhanger which has had 5 years build up. The acting is all stellar. I can't fault one performance in the whole episode.
Yeah, no.
Only the butt grab's a bit awkward, obviously in hindsight, but that doesn't ruin the episode for me. There's maybe that clunky bit of recapping at the start with the Ood, but I think it was done in a very perfect way. I can't fault, like, part 1 is just I can't fault it really. There's nothing in there which I'm like, the pacing's perfect. It's like there's no point in there where I'm bored. Everything is leading to something. Everything connects perfectly to the next scene. It doesn't feel like there's a moment wasted in this 60 minutes special. I think this was 60 minutes. I don't feel like anything's wasted. It's got mood, it's got atmosphere, the music's on point. Just I can't fault it. I have to, like, part 1 for me, definitely it's just a 10. Especially when I was rewatching it, it was just taking me back to that zone and that excitement. I felt it again which is that's difficult to do after like it's passed and I already know what's coming next.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's kind of difficult to rate it as one part because, like, I can't, like, the whole picture isn't there, just like singling this part out. So, I honestly find it kind of difficult to give it a rating. Like, I do have problems. Like, you brought up some of them, and then there's also this stuff about the Naismiths being very kind of very two-dimensional, and there's like there's some really good aspects to it. Like, well, I mean, most of it is like just really, really good. But there are definitely flaws, and I wouldn't exactly call it like peak for me, I guess. But like it's the whole era is like the peak, I guess, towards the end in terms of especially in terms of like the David Tennant era. But as you said, like it was like hit after hit after hit after hit in a lot of ways. And this absolutely continues on with that and feels like fittingly grandiose for the direction which they're going. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I do still have a few problems with it, regardless. But it's still an exceptionally good story. But like I said, I can't. I guess it'd be like somewhere in like an 8, maybe a 9. I don't quite know if I was supposed to rate it on its own.
When you've got like when you've got the other side, but just looking at like what it's a job as a part 1 in a 2-part story. I just I can't really fault it. I can't fault it. Like everything, like it's just got everything. That is what you want a part 1 in a regeneration story to be. I mean, it's the same kind of level of kind of epicness as Bad Wolf, really. That kind of intriguing setup, But I mean, Parting of Wolves did it in 45 minutes, which is very impressive. But yeah, I mean, isn't even part 2?
I still definitely prefer Bad Wolf Parting of the Ways to this, like as a whole.
Oh, man, that's tough. I'm not sure. I'd have to watch part 2. I have to watch part 2 of End of Time before I can make that judgment. But
I mean,
it is bloody strong.
I mean, when we eventually talk about that, I'll go in depth on like the whole of that story. But yeah, that's a story that's always consistently like really, really like top for me. Like in terms of the entire like show
history of Doctor Who.
Perhaps even at this point, my favorite. But I need to probably watch it again before I make that call.
Well, there we go. Christmas done in August. Nice. So that's our kind of review, I guess, of part 1. We're going to do part 2 soon.
Maybe for New Year's.
Maybe we'll do a New Year's special because Doctor Who is very consistent at doing that. But we decided to be the Christmas special this year, just in case there is no Christmas special, because Chibnall just hates Christmas, clearly. So there we go. This might age really badly. Like maybe if he releases it on Christmas, this will age badly. If it doesn't, that's a stellar joke. So there we go. Let us know what you think of End of Time Part 1 down below. Only Part 1. You can't say anything about Part 2 because this is a Part 1 video. You look at the title.
Say a word, you'll be arrested.
You will be arrested. That's it. We'll get the YouTube police on you. But yeah, you can read the title.
Pilot fish on you.
Yes. Yeah. Read the title below. It's Part 1. So I only talk about Part 1 down below. So there we go. Let us know what your thoughts. What were you doing? Were you watching it? Because I was kind of watching it. I think my sister was there actually. This is like when she kind of stopped around that time. A lot of people just dropped off after David Tennant.
I mean, for me, it was always like with the whole, more or less most of the family, because like we'd always sit around, like my extended family, that is, because we sit around practically every Christmas and just like, because it was on, we just like watch it.
That's the thing. I was
watching
Doctor
it.
Who
everyone else watched it.
Peak Doctor Who.
So like I'd have all my cousins there and my grandparents and
I remember I told my family,
my siblings.
I'm pretty sure I told my family like this is a big story. So if you're watching, you're silent through it. Like no one talks. Like that's I cannot cope with talking during my show. No. Do not accept. But there we go. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope you had a great day. Yes. That's it. this is the end of the podcast itself. little quote there. Nice little play on words, but that's it. We will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. We do weekly podcast reviews, and we also will be doing reactions.
Right, we still are by the time this is released.
I'm sure we will. We can keep it going.
So.
But yeah, so we do weekly ones, which at the moment is on a Saturday release, but we might be like current Doctor Who and just change our release day because we can.
Yeah.
And then like hopefully podcast reviews of episodes kind of just at random whenever we kind of finish them.
You might have even already seen some, or you might not have. But who knows?
We're doing a lot of stuff. We do some unboxings. Well, I do the unboxings, and other stuff. So
maybe
when the new series is out, we'll also be doing like kind of our first thoughts to stuff. Whenever that new series is, who knows? But yes, we should be doing a reaction to the Revolution of the Daleks, which will be hopefully soon. Or it's on today when we release this episode. Who knows? We don't know anything yet. But that's it. We don't have a time machine. We do not have a TARDIS. But there we go. Join us for the ride. We will see you next time. Boy. Honestly, if it helps us remember, then it's the way to go. Okay. Well, let's get me some lighting this side. There we go. I just opened a new Google tab and it just lights me up quite nicely. But there we go. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1.
Stop.
Oh no!
Hello. Here you go, coffee. Thank you.
That was like a countdown for the coffee. That was kind of impressive. Woo! Okay. There we go.
You didn't freeze. You didn't freeze.
You completely froze on your side, so it was. I wasn't sure. I stopped just in case, but yeah.
On my end, you didn't freeze at all.
It just had you really like smile like. So I just stop. If
this is fine.
Yeah. If there's any pausing on either side, I just stop. So we'll just cut this bit out. Nice.
Fine. Or we won't.
I hope.
Depends on who's editing. I might not.
Please do. No one wants to listen to this.